record for this. All right, everybody, this is Coach Evelyn. She lives in Florida, used to live in Arizona, and she coaches at Rip City. And that's a facility, correct?
It's a baseball and softball training organization here in Florida.
I love it. So Coach is a guest speaker on today's Zoom call for all of you athletes. And here is officially the mic.
Thank you. Ladies, how's it going? My name's Coach Evelyn. Arizona Desert Rat, born and raised in Yuma. Lived all over the state. I played 1 year under Stacy Iveson at the Pima Community College program. I transferred to South Mountain due to the inability to secure a scholarship slot because they had so many returners. My dad passed away that season at South. So then I returned home. In that time span after playing my 2 years there, I went down to Mexico and I got to play some semi-pro ball for about 2.5 seasons, which was probably one of the coolest experiences ever, because it was really a lot of former collegiate ball players playing in this league down there, and it was a lot of fun. After that, I went back to my alma mater at Yuma High School, and I coached at Yuma for 2 years. That was my first assistant coaching position. Then after my husband and I were married, we've been moving all over the place. We went from the Phoenix area to Pensacola, Florida, which I didn't do very much there because we were only there for about a year. But then we moved to Virginia, where I coached, and I was actually had private lessons there for about 2.5 years. Then I went and coached overseas, or we moved overseas to Spain, where I found out that the base had a competitive women's team that I went to go play on. And so we traveled around. We played in Germany, we played in Italy, we played in Spain, we played a lot of up and coming softball, which in Europe is coming, and it's coming fast. And then I coached at the high school level out there, which again, we competed against the other military installation high school teams. Now I'm back here in Florida. I've been with Rip City for 1 year and 10 months. Rip City is an indoor training facility owned by a former Pittsburgh Pirate professional baseball player. I oversee the entire softball program there under his direction. This season is the first season I've taken a back seat to a head coaching position. I coached the 14U team. I'm the head coach to the 14U team and the 16U team. And I've taken a back seat to 12U, and now I'm the assistant coach, which feels weird to be on the other side of the field when we're in games.
That's funny.
Where both 12U and 14U practice together. So they're all learning the exact same thing. No one is learning anything different. Development first, fundamentals, little fundamentals that we do throughout the entire career of softball that don't change, those kind of things. So it's been a great experience this far.
Sweet. I love it. Now, one thing you did leave out is I know this, but they don't know this. What position did you play?
I was a catcher.
And
I still catch live batting practice for my 16-year girls. I caught still overseas prior to having my third. I have 3 kids, and my littlest one was born in Spain. But prior to having her, I caught my last tournament ever. Then 2 days later, I found out I was pregnant. Wow. So I got pregnant and didn't know it. But yes, I wasn't a catcher. I still am a catcher. I consider myself still.
So I think that's pretty cool to bring that catcher's eye, here, as you guys are pitchers that are learning your craft to get better. And the cool thing about her as a catcher is she has taught herself how to help pitchers. It's a crazy concept. And I actually have a lot of good conversations with coaches that were catchers, and they can you teach me how to pitch? Can you teach me what to see? And I'm like, you actually know more than you think you do.
Oh, our other pitching coach at the facility, if I'm doing hitting lessons and she has a pitching lesson, she's like, hey, Ev, I need your eye real quick. And she'll have me go stand behind the plate. I'm like, all right, where are we looking? Or where are we releasing? Or what? She's got the side view and she's got the whole, profile view. I'm looking at the front. And so I'm like, all right, they're hitching here, or they're releasing out here, or this or that. And it's been a cool transition. I had to learn it in college though. When I played at South, my coach was like, look, you're going to have to figure this part out, because you have to tell me when your pitchers are on and off, and you have to be able to read their body language, and you have to be able to read their movement, and you have to be able to read everything they're doing from the minute they grip their pitch to the minute they release. And so
that's huge, because it's, you know, I always like to train my pitchers to think about that tunnel, like get in your tunnel. And by that, it signifies like the tunnel between you and your catcher.
Mhm.
And if one of those parties are not in the tunnel, then it usually doesn't go very well.
Exactly.
It's like, as a catcher, I'm like, hey, I'm going to make you look great. You catch my ball, make me look great. That's what I always would tell my catchers. So with that, like, what did you want to bring to this little show today?
So there's a couple of things that I think this generation of pitchers is missing. And that's not repetition, and it's not fundamental skill, and it's not, you know, learning to keep the toe down, and it's not learning to stand tall and lead with the chest. It's the strength part of it. Here in the Jacksonville area, it's like oversaturation of daddy ball. And I'm going to say that very, very, like, not disrespecting them, but a kid doesn't make a team, another team sprouts up. And so we're spread thin with talent, but more so spread thin with good coaching, right? And so these girls, instead of going out and training on their off weekends, they're going out and I want to go guest play here, and I need to go get my reps, and I need to go pitch. And we've taken some on, and I'm like, that can't happen. Like, there's a lot of things that, well, my dad or my, you know, my coach on my travel ball team is this, that, and the other. And it's like, but core wise, physically, you're not strong enough to be on the mound for an hour and 20 minutes, hour and 15, however long the game is meant to go. And I'm a big, and you follow me on Instagram, and a lot of my athletes now are like, Coach, how are you still lifting what you're lifting? I'm like, I've never stopped. I was in the weight room at 13, and I haven't stopped since. I was in the weight room lifting. Mind you, I wasn't putting 270 pounds on my back at 13, but the fact that I could say I'm 38 and I'm actively lifting and powerlifting and doing CrossFit, and I can go out there and catch a 7-inning game, be in a little bit of pain the next day, but I'm physically able to still hold my own in the game, in the weight room, in the gym. And it just reflects my lifestyle. It's not just I go into the gym to just look okay. I want to go in there, and I'm a coach. I have to represent what I'm teaching.
Yeah. Kennedy, I know maybe some questions are already starting to cross your mind, you know. So Kennedy she's a thin athlete. She is definitely like Amazon, like her dad is very tall. And when you look at Kennedy's shoulders, you see her dad. So I already know. And like grandpa's really tall. Like, how tall is your grandpa, Ken? Are you talking? Because I can't hear you, Kennedy.
6'8".
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So, and this is something that we, like, her mom and I have discussed about her doing strength training and stuff, because she is so prone to injury. Her joints, you know, and her mom's a pediatrician. Yeah. So like, she's always on the other side, you know, trying to get ahead of anything. And there for a while, it was like, we could not get ahead of anything. Like, she would run and her ankle would just tweak, and then she would get back into the dugout and be like, my ankle hurts, you know. And then the unfortunate, she slid one time, slid wrong, went right into the bag, sprained her ankle. She bunted, had her finger on the bat, broke her finger. So it's just one of those things. And, you know, I look at Kennedy and I'm like, I see how tall she is. And I'm like, yes, we've got to get this girl. Like, look at Jenny Finch. Like, I've always seen Jenny Finch in Kennedy. Like, when I see the way they're built, see a lot of similarity. Even Kat Osterman, the tall, slender, I mean, even Monica Abbott, she's that.
That's how one of my 12-year pictures is. She just turned 13 and she's 5'9".
Yeah.
That one of the girls, the lefty that hit the home run last weekend, that plays up. So all summer because we pushed our 14U season last season out through the summer, and all fall she pitched up. And she was growing as she was doing it, so she was having a very hard time with the adjustment. So we were like, all right, instead of worried about reps, we need to get you stronger. And now we're forcing her to stay at 12U for her last season. Not forcing her, but we recommended it for mental strength, you know. And she's out there. She had a perfect game into the bottom of the fourth today. And a lot of it has come from the strength part of it, because she's so tall. We call her baby giraffe because when she moves, she's so awkward.
Yeah, no, Kennedy's been called baby giraffe, baby deer. So she,
Green Goblin, as Marley calls me.
oh, Marley calls her green goblin. So, with that, like Kennedy's now, like she's of age, she could start working out. I mean, obviously I'm not her parent, but my daughter is on this call. Marley's 11. Kennedy, you are 13, correct? Or are you still 12? You're 12 because you're still playing 12U. Duh. Yeah, I got you. So she's 12. So they're both at that age where they can start working out. And down here in the valley, and I'm sure you have it there in Florida, where there's a lot of personal trainers that do like small group training and camps and stuff like that. You know, what are your thoughts on these girls starting to do stuff like that, like being around 12?
So this is my only concern with going to see any trainer per se, any type of trainer, is that at this age, we know where they're prone to injury. Knees, shoulders, elbows, ankles. And it's not your typical knee, shoulder, wrist, elbow, ankle. It's usually the anterior part of the knee, the ankle, labrum tears, UCL sprains or strains, you know, the things that we see with the constant motion and the constant repetition. It's just wear and tear. It's a matter of finding somebody who's got more sports specific type.
I love it.
We can't just go jump into a trainer and be like, hey, I'm a softball player. I need you to make me stronger, because this is, or I need you to help me so that I'm stronger in areas that I'm more injury prone. Well, they're going to be like, well, they're going to want to stack weight for one. They're going to want to focus on, when they're this young, a lot of trainers aren't brave enough to put some weight on them. Whether it's a weight vest or a medicine ball or dumbbells or kettlebells. And so it's difficult to just say, go find a trainer and work with them. I have a girl who does hitting lessons with me, and I've been talking to her mom, and I'm like, her personal trainer is just a personal trainer. Like, he could teach her to be explosive from behind the dish. I go, but the difference is he getting her stronger so she's not getting hurt?
Right.
You know? And I go, and that's more than just lifting weights. That's resistance bands. That's the what's it called, the body blade, the big long body blades for shoulders and elbows. A lot of it is inline lunges, which is something we're going to talk about with the pitchers that I have my pitchers work and do with lightweight. A lot of core stability, which we're one of the only sports that a pitcher's movement uses every single, from the fingertip to the toe.
Yeah, I mean, I know Marley, Kennedy, I don't know if you've experienced it yet, where, well, no, you probably have, because she got pitched a lot for middle school ball. And it's not my arm hurts, it's my entire body hurts. So
especially at these games that don't have time limits, they go full 7 innings. Their body's not used to it.
Yeah. So so you're going to show us some moves today? Is that the deal?
Yeah, I can show you guys a couple. I'm in socks. Don't judge me. I was on the field all day yesterday and all day today. So
you're good. You're good.
So we're going to do just a couple of basic movements. You guys can see here, I've got like my own personal like weightlifting platform and some weights. The only thing I don't have is a medicine ball, but that's something, it doesn't need to be heavyweight. When I say we use lightweight, the girls are using 6 to 8 pound medicine balls. They're not using these massive 20-pound balls. We do overhead inline lunges, which is you're doing a straight inline lunge, like a walking lunge, with the blocked out overhead, chest up, like if you're leading the way through a pitch, and core and back completely stabilized. A lot of girls get in here and I'm like, if you need to stop and readjust and turn out when you're holding, make sure that that rotation is outward. We talk about internal rotation in softball. We need to really remember that when we're lifting weight, we pronate opposite. So so I'll just show you real quick a couple of the moves, and I'll explain to you what they're good for. So I have a girl real quick who comes almost 3 hours all the way from Savannah, Georgia. That's the one I was telling you that had that knee surgery because she has that anchor drag. And we do a lot of explosive strength with her, while like I included in her pitching work because she's strong. She plays for Georgia Force, which is one of the top 10 16U 18 travel programs in the country. And she's like, I'm tired of just going to a pitching lesson and throwing a bullpen. She throws an hour bullpen. What's the point of throwing an hour bullpen? You know, it's doing absolutely nothing for her core and for her strength. And, you know, she's realized that the more she throws without strengthening the weaknesses, the more injury prone she is. So you girls just have to remember two things that when you guys are lifting is if it feels heavy, it probably is. Okay. And two, anything overhead for you guys, and if you feel shaking, you shouldn't have it overhead. You should have full control of any type of weight or movement that you are doing with weight over your head. There should be nothing that you guys are doing that's going to cause you to possibly injure yourself, because you're learning to lift or you're learning to get stronger. And a lot of that is going to be soreness afterwards, but understanding to listen to your body, just like when you're pitching, understanding if your shoulders feeling some type of way that maybe it's time to ice or maybe it's time to stop throwing, or the same concept with weightlifting, except for the differences when you put weight overhead and you don't have control over it, you can injure yourself drastically. Okay. So I'm just going to show you these moves real quick. I'm going to put this down.
Okay.
Hold on 1 sec.
Ladies, make sure if you have your notebooks, your journals present, please make sure to take notes. Okay. This is important for you guys.
Let's see if I can get it. Right there. All right. So the first movement we're going to do, see, it's just an inline. Hold on 1 second. We're going to work on an inline lunge. You guys know what a lunge is, right? Just like this. Or my weight here to represent or replicate the movement here. You can improvise in the house. Take care. So the inline lunge, you're gonna start here, directly overhead. You guys see how I'm knocked out? The inside of my elbows are facing forward, touching my ears. So I'm squeezing my ears with my arms. You're gonna come down and you hold. The movement is straight up. It's not forward from here. So you go here, straight up. So you're gonna alternate. Gonna go back down, straight down. You guys notice my chest is forward, my core is fully engaged. I'm squeezing on top, straight up. Okay. That movement is for core and lower back strength, shoulder strength. You're using a lot of, you'll feel in your legs as well because your core, your abs are connected to your legs. So that's one of the movements. The other one is a medicine ball, but because I don't have one, I wasn't able to run back to work to grab one. But I will show you the movement. So it's still a lunge, but this one we hold out in front. We come down, and on our way up, we slam onto the ground. And here, I'll do it this way so you guys can see what my leg does, okay? So we go here, we're stabilizing. Okay, can you guys see my back foot pop up on my way up?
Mm-hmm.
Here. You guys notice how I'm tall? So what you would do is you would slam on the opposite side that you're lunging. It would go the other way as well. So if I'm lunging on my left side, I come here, I go there. And this is a workout. That one specifically, that movement, you will learn real quick where you're weak, what side you're weak on. you learn where you're weak as far as your legs, your balance, your stability, your core stability. Your shoulders will burn. Your shoulders will burn because you're holding the ball straight out here. So you'll see what side is bigger than the other. And unfortunately for pitchers, you have to be strong on both sides.
Yeah, definitely. For sure. Those look like some good moves. I know for me, when I work with pitchers, I actually do a lunge test on them, checking what their knee is going to do, the front knee is going to do when they drop down. And that kind of gives me an idea of where they're at, strength-wise, as well as
Sorry, my mom opened the garage door and I'm like, I don't want my 4-year-old to know I'm out here.
And then a squat test as well, because a lot of times the younger girls, you'll
They
see,
bow in.
yeah, that medial aspect of their legs bow in. So I did a pretty cool thing the other day at practice. It was needless to say, their legs were burning. But it was, they had to hold the bat and then they had to go down and squat and hold it out. And then once we did that and we learned how to properly squat, then the trick was they had to get all the way down into that deep squat and then gently go to their bottom, keep the bat up, and then use their core and get back up without ever letting go of the bat.
Oh, that's a real good one.
And it was pretty cool. And that showed me like with Kennedy, like right away, I could see like, yeah, her joints are super bendy and that's probably why she has that.
And with girls, you'll also see that when they're growing that fast, when they're that tall, and when they're growing with maturity and everything that comes with it, the ligaments in their tendons are so much weaker because their body takes so much more from them.
Yes.
And having that knowledge, I'm sure her mom being a pediatrician, she completely knows that part of it. But as a coach and being able to educate parents who have no idea about that.
Yeah.
We had a big conference with or like a big meeting with our softball parents, and we were explaining that. So the facility I work for, we are like full everything. We have obviously one-on-one lessons. We have a homeschool academy. So the kids that are homeschooled do their homeschool programming there 3 days a week.
Cool.
And then they do baseball and softball. So they do like 9 to noon, they do schoolwork, and then the noon to 3, they do baseball or softball, whatever it is they're in there for. We have an academic advisor. We have a mental skills coach, and we have a physical therapist on staff. We're also, all of us, we're all getting FMS certified, so functional movement screening, similar to what you were doing with your pitchers, checking like their inline motion and everything, so that we're able to strengthen the weakness. Everybody thinks that, oh, the more lessons I go to, the better my swing's going to be, the better my pitch is going to be. And while you might have partial truth in that, if we don't fix what's wrong with the body, we can't fix what's wrong with the movement.
Correct.
So
I agree with that. That's
do
big.
you girls, I have a question for the girls actually. I mean, I'm hoping, I don't think that your little one knows this or thinks this simply because your mom, but do you guys think that just going and getting more reps will help you get better?
They're like, well, it's kind of, you guys got to think about, like, when I talk to you guys about doing the small things correctly over and over again, you know, like when we do, so shout out to Paisley's pitching, Coach Tony, she did this amazing walkthrough drill with weighted balls, and that's actually a staple.
We use their weighted balls at the facility.
Yeah, I love her. Meeting her this past year at the conference was amazing. But we do this drill, and it's really funny because like both Kennedy and Marley, hold on just a second, Ken. When they went through it, they were quick, and I was like, nope, we got to move through this slow. We are feeling our body move so we can feel ourselves move incorrectly or correctly. And we're not going to do it 15 times. We're going to do it 5 times. And we're going to try to focus on 5 times, at least 3 out of those 5 times solid. So, all right, Miss Ken, go ahead, babe.
Well, like what I said is kind of, because like obviously the more you practice, the more like the more effort you put into something, the better result you'll get. But like
Mm-hmm.
you have to have the right mechanics and the right movement.
That's it right there. That's
Like
it.
you have to learn how to do it the correct way before you just rush into it.
Mm-hmm.
That
That's
was
exactly what it is.
yeah, we talked about that, Ev. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, there's so many different versions of the right way. So
Right.
a good coach has to make sure they use their verbiage correctly. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you need to move the healthy way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't think the healthy way can ever be taken in a negative context.
No, not at all.
But if I'm a coach and I say that's incorrect, somebody could easily come along and say, well, that's not my correct.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so
See, and in this game, a lot of people are comfortable with what they know. You know, and like you and I and like Tony Paisley and like my boss Jared, he buys us books. I get a book from him every 3 months, maybe. Just like more knowledge, more knowledge. I'm a catcher, born and raised a catcher. Okay, he pitched professional baseball through his career, or he pitched in baseball through all the way through his professional career. He bought me a Weinstein catching the catcher's coach book, and I never in my life thought I would learn one more thing about being behind the plate.
never in your life. That's so
And here I go. I've learned 2 or 3 in the last couple months reading that book.
constantly learning.
But
Kennedy?
so when for you girls, when I say reps, like getting reps, I mean like going out and playing for a coach who doesn't know you, that needs you obviously, but you're going out to say, oh, I'm just gonna go get the reps, or somebody's like, just come get reps in. You guys have to remember that what you're being taught and what you're working on is the type of rep scheme you have to keep when you're not around your coaches that know you as an athlete. Because we have a policy in place with our program that our girls can't go guest play with anybody. And if they do, it has to be specific. It could be like a camp, a showcase, that we're not scheduled to attend. And they have to ask us, and we have to pretty much give them the okay for 2 reasons. Not all coaches have your best interest in for you. Because if they need a pitcher or they need a catcher or they need a utility player to come fill a spot because they want to win a tournament, that's no longer your best interest. If they're trying to get you to come play because they want to win, they're no longer thinking about you as an athlete. They're only thinking about what the team is going to do without you and how you can help them win. So at that point, they're not worried about mechanics. They're not worried about injuries. They're not worried. There's a lot of things that they're not saying that they don't care about you personally as a kid or as a child, but as far as what your mechanics look like, you guys always have to remember that when you go out and play for someone that's not your coach, or you go out and work with somebody that's not your specific coach, you have to work on things that you know and that you've been working on. I think that's the biggest thing out here is we see so many kids that just want to guest play, and I'm like, how can you guys go from one type of coaching style to a non-existent one? It's just it's something that we fight with, and then unfortunately, being females, I'm part of an only female coaching staff out here, and boy, there is a fight.
She forgot to mention that, and that was actually one of their top 3 reasons why I brought her on. So
we don't have a male coach on our softball side. We're all former collegiate. There's 2 of us that are former catchers. One my right hand, I call my right hand and my left hand. My right hand caught at SC State, and my left hand pitched at Southern Vermont. And so they're as knowledgeable as they come. They're really young. So I'm like, oh, you girls keep me young. One of them, COVID ruined her senior season. And she decided to not fill a freshman's and not return. And the other one, so she's 22, or will be 22 this summer, and the other one will be 27 here next month. So they're fresh out the box.
that's cool. Kennedy, do you have any questions for Coach? No. Marley, do you have any questions for Coach? Okay. Well, they do have access. I have been able to locate a trainer here who is sports specific training.
Perfect.
And in fact, I've taken the girls to go do group workouts with him.
Mhm.
And it's been a really good experience for them. And in
That's
fact,
awesome.
yeah, our middle son does group training with him, and it's helping him get stronger.
Mhm.
So my husband enjoys going in and picking him up. And with my husband's background being in secondary ed with health and PE
Mhm.
and strength training, he sits there and he can see right away that he's training him properly to achieve his goals.
Mhm.
So the girls
You know,
definitely have that.
do you girls know who Shannon Sale is? Do you know who
Shannon,
Shannon Sale
no.
is? So she pitched at OU. She was one of the
Oh,
pitchers at OU
yes,
last
yes,
year.
yes. Sorry,
Um,
I was like,
so with a little background about I met her last summer. My old high school coach. So she coached at the last time she coached, she was at Boulder Creek High School when she was in Arizona. That's her last coaching job at Arizona. And she's in Utah now. But she came out over the summer to visit. And we drove into Tampa to go to a Shannon Sale pitching clinic that she was holding with Amber Pfizer, who pitched out of Missouri, she pitched out of Montana, who's now a student assistant at Missouri.
okay.
Or Minnesota, I mean, and I can't remember the other one, Kally or Kally, I can't remember her last name. She was at Tennessee, but now she pitches at Arkansas.
Okay.
So I got to rub elbows with some pretty heavy hitters in the NCAA, and I've actually become really good friends with Shannon. I explained to her, I told her about the facility, and so she came out before she reported to OU because she's a student assistant at OU this year, and did a pitching clinic with us at Rip City. And she missed out on her first season with Athletes Unlimited because she pitched through an injury.
Oh,
Okay. She partially tore her labrum and didn't know it and didn't say anything because it was in the Women's College World Series. You remember how lights out she was at the beginning of the World Series, and then that Florida State game?
yeah.
That game won, and they just started selling on her.
Mm-hmm.
She said she hurt herself at that last JMU game, and she felt it, but she thought it was just overuse. She was tired,
Mm-hmm.
and when she went to throw that first game of the championship series against Florida State, she felt something else, and she was like, "Oh, maybe I'm just not using my legs enough." And she said that after 2 innings, she was like, "Okay, something's up." So she told the coach, and they pulled her, and sure enough, she had a partial tear. I want to say it was her labrum, but I can't remember. And so she missed out her first season at Athletes Unlimited due to her not or having to recover. She didn't
Yeah.
need surgery, but she needed a lot of physical therapy. And she just started pitching again. Okay, so this happened last spring, and she just started pitching again in January.
Wow. That's
Mhm.
intense.
And so she transferred from Florida International to OU, and she had a complete different pitching coach like style at Florida International. She did at OU. She told me some of the best pitching coaches I've had are catchers. And I was like, really? She goes, yes. She goes, because you guys can see what our body looks like as we're coming at you. It's just a
Yeah.
different perspective.
Yeah.
And when she did the pitching clinic with us here at Rip City, something that she said rung out, and I'm like, it's gonna stick with me forever. And she said, if you are in a pitching lesson and your legs don't hurt more than your arm,
Oh,
you are not being taught to pitch right. I was like,
wow.
oh, I
So
was like,
yeah, no,
powerful.
I love that because I know just personally because Marley's my kid. She
Mhm.
will tell me that her legs hurt. So that I love that. Kennedy,
Mhm.
I know you've been out a little bit because Kennedy she pitched tense and experienced that post-traumatic pain.
Mhm.
And so prior to that, Ken, when you were pitching, do you ever recall your legs hurting?
Sorry, I don't. I remember my legs hurting, but I remember them not as hurting.
The whole talk a little louder, sis. We can barely hear you.
Okay, so I remember them hurting, but not hurting like as much as my arm would.
So this right here is food for you.
Mhm. So and I asked her why she would say that. And so she said that when she was at Florida International, her top speed was hitting 68. 69 on a fastball. And this is bullpen. This isn't game time. This is with the Rapsodo down on the ground, and she's throwing her catcher, just bullpen to see for speed. And when she transferred to OU, they changed her pitching style completely. So she was one of the, I'm open, I'm closed. Now she comes out at a 45, kind of like Odyssey Alexander, same, very similar pitching style. She goes, I started working with a coach. I'm sure you know who the foot doctor is. Everybody knows who the foot doctor is. Okay, so she started working with him, and he was like, if your legs are not hurting more after every bullpen or after every bullpen pitching work that you do, then your shoulder is, or then your arm is, and that means you're not pitching right, you're not using your legs enough. That means you're all arm. So he changed her up, and she tapped at 73 miles an hour in a bullpen at OU. In game, she said she hit 71.
Okay, so let me make sure I'm understanding you correctly. When you said open to close, so are we talking her plant foot was at 3 o'clock versus 2:30?
Yes.
So one of my big pitchers actually had a teammate who experienced a knee surgery in her plant leg because she would land like this, and with each land a little bit more meniscus got torn, a little bit more meniscus got torn, and then all it took was that final time and her knee blew.
And that goes the same way as the drag foot.
Yeah.
If we drag out with our foot or our toe pointed, to 3 o'clock, we're not dragging properly.
Yeah, that's what I always say. Like as a righty, your toe and your knee, your drive knee should not be pointed towards.
It should be driving forward. Wherever your body's going, that's where they got to go. They have to follow.
Yep.
And you've got to sit. You've got to stay bent through the whole thing. You can't lock out and expect your body to move right. Can't push off if you're locked out. Have you guys ever tried jumping with your knees locked out?
First basemen, yes, you have. We've done the drill as first basemen.
Yeah, so. You can't jump. I mean, and if you do, you get that much off the ground. There's no explosive movement when you're locked out. There's absolutely none. So you guys have to think, same concept as when you hit. I tell my girls, you lock out, you're casting out. You have no rotation in your swing if your knees are locked out. No rotation in your body. Your hips don't rotate.
Always stay athletic.
Yep. And you have to stay engaged. And so that for me, from her pitching clinic, she sat there and showed me that with her 2-seam fastball or 2-seam grip, she could throw every pitch.
Yeah. And that's something that actually came up one day with one of my older pitchers, and she was like, Coach, is it possible? And I said, I think there's a time and a place for it. Right now, no, like where you're at, but later.
Yes.
Yeah. Because when you've been doing something for so long, you can let other parts of your body kind of go on that muscle memory, that autopilot, and then you can start focusing on a different place. But not an unhealthy autopilot. That would be like a broken ankle drag, and try to throw everything with a 2-seam grip. So
So like I said, she taught me a bunch of little things like that. But what stood out was that she was like, if your pitchers, she was talking to me and to Lauren. This was after she spoke to the girls, and I asked her, I said, what did you mean by that? I said, because, automatically my brain went to how are their legs going to be? And I understood it, but I wanted to hear like a more in-depth explanation, because of course their legs are meant to be tired. They're supposed to push off. They're supposed to drag, that plant foot takes a brunt of the weight, and she said, well, if they're not physically tired, like fatigue pain, not like I'm injured. She goes, if they're more fatigued on their shoulder than they are in their legs, and they're not working right, they're not using their body the way they're supposed to. And I was like, that's interesting. And then she sent me a bunch of stuff from the foot doctor, and I was like, that's amazing. It's amazing to think that the more energy we create in the ground with our legs, the more of our legs we use, and we less stress on the shoulder.
It's just like hitting.
Yes.
The more energy we create on the ground.
Right. The better we are with the bat. And I tell these girls, and they look at me like deer in headlights. I'm like, I promise you, I'm 5'1", and I was the smallest catcher in the ACCAC in 2003 to 2005. I was tiny, but I was throwing out Chelsea Mesa. Do you know who Chelsea Mesa is?
No.
She played 2 years at Phoenix College, then won 2 national championships there, and then transferred to U of A in 07, 08, beat Monica Abbott in 08, and won national championships there. And I was like, I was throwing people out like her because I stayed strong and I stayed in my legs for a lot of what I did. A lot of people, my size was the main reason I didn't go D1 out of high school.
Yeah.
Because when I was at South, I had 2 offers for visits, NC State's first program, and then I had an offer to visit at Boston College. I don't know that was their inaugural season, but they were very, very young in the softball world. My size played a huge part of it. So I had to go out there and I play with a chip on my shoulder 100% of the time.
No, I get it. I was 5'3" when I was pitching. I've already shrunk an inch. So I got looked over very easily. But I mean, the plan was to go D2 and then the blood clot happened and
yeah,
it's what it is. But well, that's awesome. I am looking forward to watching these 2 and then all my other athletes that weren't able to make it. You know, they had practice, some of them they have tournaments, some of them have family commitments, but I'm definitely eager to watch them grow and get stronger from here. And
don't be afraid. Don't let anybody tell you girls that lifting weights gonna make you big. Don't let anybody tell you guys that, because that's the first out here. The girls are like, I'm afraid to get big. I'm like, have you seen these softball players at the NCAA level? Gainesville is 1 hour and 24 minutes, from my house. These girls are constantly going to the UF games. I'm like, go watch UF, go stand. We went to the UNF game against University of North Florida and UF here 2 weeks ago. I'm like, and I told one of my girls that's petrified of the idea that she has to go to the weight room. She's like, I just don't understand it. I'm like, go to Charlotte Eccles. She was we could walk right up to the net and talk to Charlotte Eccles in the on-deck circle. I go, ask her how many days a week she hits the weight room. Ask her how old she was when she started hitting weights. And she's like, I don't want to. So I went up there and I said, hey, I'm her coach. Can you answer this question real quick? Because she's afraid to lift weights. She goes, girl, if you want to make it far in this game, you better get really, really comfortable in the weight room.
I love it.
So don't be afraid to get strong, ladies.
Nothing wrong with strong. Oh, that rhymes. Hashtag that. Nothing wrong with strong. But okay, no questions, ladies. You guys are good. You understand all the value that was brought to you today. Okay. All right. So I will go through this, say thank you, and then I'm going to press stop record, but please stay on. Okay.
Okay.
Again, I just want to say thank you to Coach Evelyn, who started out in the AZ all the way out here, and she's all the way in Florida, adding value to numerous female athletes as well as male coaches. Like, I think it's pretty valiant of you to continue to do that and on that coaching skill. So thanks for being a guest speaker today.
I appreciate you having me. Good luck, ladies.
Thanks, Coach. All right, here we go.